everyone. Take away this. Hello, everyone. A very good evening. And I thank you all for joining us at the 119 version of our webinar today. The subject, as all of you know, is the entrepreneur need of understanding psychology of safety. I extend warm welcome, hearty welcome to our eminent, learned, erudite speakers of today. I'm sure that the delegates who have come to join us from various countries shall enjoy the deliberations of this session and shall carry home very important points from these deliberations. The subject of discussion is of international importance, and the presence of delegates globally really makes the session an international session. Let me introduce in a few words what is NISPA. As the president of NISPA, I'd like to say a few words about NISPA. NISPA was established somewhere in the year 1990. It started training in security, safety, and management of applied technology. And because of the competencies attained by it in the training programs, it created a reputation for itself in the market. The trainees who underwent these courses established themselves in their respective fields when they went back after the training. After some time, we also started with the courses for the Ministry of Defense to train them for their second career after their retirement from the defense forces. As all of you know, innovation is the core competition. Today is a competitive advantage for anyone who has that innovation. With the passage of time, the Institute, NISPA also thought of having some innovative measures as it aspires to become the foremost corporate training institute globally. It has a think tank organization also with us, and it has started the process of creating a research cell for security, professional, and students and scholars who are in this particular spectrum. In the recent past, we have created 4 cells in NISPA. The first is the NISPA Forum. NISPA Forum is the one where we are now today gathered. That is organizing webinars, seminars, conferences, debates, declamations, speeches by scholars, speeches by eminent professionals, and to hold award functions from time to time. The second wing is the NISPA Academy. NISPA Academy or NISPA Education is going to conduct virtual training programs, assessments, certifications, and to establish its own library and its own research cell papers gathered together so that education, those people who come here, they're able to dig into this research paper and this academy and are able to deliver to the world at large. Then is our NISPA enterprise to propagate the programs of NISPA Forum and the NISPA Academy at an international level, create some partnership, create alliances, and prepare compendium, etc. for those who want to purchase it. Then the fourth is NISPA Foundation. Ultimately, in due course of time, we want to establish a foundation, a trust, which is proposed to undertake welfare and social work for the society at large, particularly with reference to safety and security. With these words, I'd like to now introduce our chairman. A word about our chairman, Captain Pawanjit Ahluwalia. Captain Ahluwalia is the chairman of Ahluwalia Holding Private Limited, which has offices at multiple locations in India and also abroad. He took voluntary retirement from the parachute regiment of the Indian Army at a very young age and jumped into an unknown area of business. With the continuous perseverance, with continuous hard work and attitude of taking risks, and at times learning from the pitfalls, he has grown, he has evolved, and has achieved a position of prominence in the business world in India. I have been associated with him for long years and can say without any fear of contradiction and with all the emphasis at my command that he is not only an action-oriented and a go-getter, but is also a lifelong learner. The relaunching of NISBAT in the recent past is a best testimony to his ability to get into new fields and relearn and do something. Founder member of the International Business Research Association, Hong Kong, and also member of the World Association of Detectives. He was past president and was also the former chairman of Council of International Investigators, USA. An awardee of Wellcome Thompson Award and Kautilya Award by the Council of International Investigators, and also the governor of Central Association of Private Security Industry. He is globally recognized as a known figure in the security industry. Now, let me say a few words about the subject of today. That is the need of understanding psychology of safety, the entrepreneur, and the need of understanding psychology of safety. Giving an opening address, feel that psychology of safety is to be considered in two ways. One is psychology of safety within the enterprise, within the employees of the enterprise. So on that course, the psychology of safety at the workplace can be explained as a shared belief by most of the members or most of the employees of the organization that they belong to the organization and the organization belongs to them. The employee shall not be condemned, he knows it, for any inadvertent wrong action. The employee will not be humiliated for speaking up his ideas on any project. The psychology of safety can thus be defined as a feeling inculcated in the employees of the organization that they belong to this organization and organization is for them. This feeling of safety can be broadly considered under psychology and psychological inclusion that you included in the organization. It also means safety for a learner because there's aptitude in everyone to learn, he asks questions, and similarly meaningful challenges in case he gives some challenges to the status quo of the organization is accepted, but it's not necessarily that status quo is always good. The challenges to the status quo may be profitable to the entrepreneur. As such, the psychology of safety within the employees of the organization is very important. I'll refer in 2 words and 3 lines. Motivational theory propounded, I referred to the speaker earlier also, propounded about in 40s by Maslow, refers to 5 needs in a pyramid. And these needs start from the need of food and shelter, which provides safety, psychological safety to lower employees at a lower level. Then there is a second one, the need of job security for him. The third in the hierarchy going up the pyramid, the need of love and belonging in the organization. And the fourth going up, the need of friendship in the association. And the last, but most important psychological need of safety is the need of self-esteem and actualization. As far as his ideas are concerned, what he conceives, is they are being actualized or not. Besides the psychology of safety within the employees of the organization, the safety of others who are interacting with the organization, the safety of others whom the organization deals with, who may be customers, is also very important. Now, in this respect, we have here from various sectors, the marine industry, that is the shipping industry, which is perhaps the most international of all the great industries in India, the need, in word rather, the need to improve safety at sea has resulted in creating and developing international regulations. It has also resulted in improving navigational communication system. It has also resulted in improvement in the environment safety measures. The speaker from this sector, Captain Jasdeep Loni, I'm sure will deliberate at length about this safety which they provide to the other people who interact with them or who take help from them or who utilize their services. Then the second other speaker is from the field of women's safety. As far as women's safety and security is concerned, I should like to mention only in 2 words that as a National Crime Bureau report in India is concerned, it has highlighted the increasing vulnerability of girls and women in the last few years in India. The reason behind these vulnerabilities are probably a patriarchal set of mind of the people. That is, they are considering that this is mindset, the women are just the second gender or second rate citizens or whatever you say. And then objectification of women, some of them in the films, etc. And also, I feel that deteriorating moral values in the society. Therefore, the safety of women is really causing anxiety to the social activists. And therefore, the psychosocial counseling is being given by these activists. Today, we have with us an activist in this field, that is Ms. Reena Gupta, who shall further elaborate on this. Then there's the last speaker who is going to talk on travel risk management is with us. He has a comprehensive and consistent approach. But travel risk management, the safety in the travel sector includes how well the organization can respond to crisis. Such safety measures involve situational awareness and adequate response depending on the instability prevailing in a particular region or country or state, which is the destination of these travelers. Mr. Roger Warburg, who is an expert in travel risk management, shall elaborate on this. I'll now request Mr. Paman Ahluwalia, the moderator of session, to come forward and moderate this section. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. President. While the President has thanked the participants for being present, but I'd just like to mention that today we have participants from India, Italy, the United States, Singapore, Australia, Ethiopia, Kenya, New Zealand, Tunisia, UK, UAE, Kuwait, and Bahrain. I thank you all for participating with us. I'd also like to thank the sponsor for the event today, which is Premier Consulting and Investigations Private Limited, which is a leading risk management and advisory company. The event is also supported by India Skills Private Limited, which is a assessments organization, Tag Scores, which is an assessment management tool, Premier Shield, which is a security services company, JMD Cargo, which exports cargo from India, and HubSpot, which is a client relation management tool. We are at this moment live on Zoom and on YouTube. The session is being recorded and would be available on the NISPAT website for viewing at any point of time. I'd like to now introduce to you all the President, he's spoken to us, but probably some of us don't know about him. And I'd like to highlight his achievements of the many years that he's been in service to the government of India and to the business at large. Mr. Sipal Singh is a master's in English literature, and he served the Indian Police Service in very senior appointments throughout the country. He was made responsible by the government of India to raise a new force called the Rapid Action Force, and he was later appointed its first chief in India. He was then asked to raise another organization called the Internal Security Academy, which is a central police academy in the Indian state of Rajasthan at Mount Abu. During his service career of many years, he was decorated with the President's Police Medal for Distinguished Services, the Indian Police Medal for Meritorious Services, the Police Special Duty Medal with Bar, a Sena Medal, and a number of other commendations and awards. After retirement, he was recognized for his services by no less a person than the President of India in the year 2009 as the Security Personality of the Year. He's also an advisor to the Asian Professional Security Association, the Indian chapter, and is also the Honorary Director General for the Central Association of Private Security Industry in India and the Association of Private Detectives and Investigators in India. Mr. Sipal Singh's face is well known in the country as a dynamic security professional who has appeared in a number of interviews on Indian television channels. I would like to now introduce the first speaker of the day, who's Mr. Roger Warwick. The President had said that he would speak last, but he's going to be speaking first. I'd introduce Roger to you. Roger is the CEO of the Pyramid Temi Group, which is based out of Switzerland and Italy. And also he's the founder member of the ISO 31030, which is a travel risk management international ISO standard. And he's been on this committee right from its inception. Roger has over 40 years of experience in safety, security, and investigations, and specializes in travel risk management. He's based out of Bologna in Italy, and is the chairman of the Temi Group International, Vernon, which is based out of Switzerland. He's a certified ISO 27001 and 28000 lead auditor and a security management systems skills examiner. Roger is the founder member of the International Technical Committee for the development of the ISO 31030 standard on travel risk management, which is a guidance for organizations. He has pioneered the involvement of ASIS in international security standards. He's a recipient of ASIS President's Award of Merit for provision of information to leadership and encouragement of member involvement in the development of international standards. He's a consultant to the International Standards Organization. He's a consultant to the European Committee for Standardization and the Italian Standardized Standards Organization. He's also a consultant to the European Commission on Security Matters. He's the chair of the European Union Liaison Subcommittee. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you Mr. Roger Warwick. Roger, the floor is all yours.
Thank you. Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Good. Can you see the screen I'm sharing?
Not as yet.
As I clicked on share screen. Hang on, it's coming, I think.
Yes, we can.
Okay,
Coming on now.
good. I'm now clicking on presentation.
But your screen is not showing. Yes, it is there now.
But you're getting the wrong screen. Just a second. Please be patient just a minute because you're getting the wrong screen at the moment. Okay, this should be the right screen. The human factor in travel risk management. Can you see that?
Yes,
Good.
Sean, you're okay to go.
Okay, thank you. Hello, everybody. Thank you, Nismat, for the opportunity of speaking to such a distinguished public. Thank you, Pawan, who is really an old friend from many, for maybe too many years.
Too many.
And thank you, the President. Too many years. I think we first met in San Antonio in Texas in the early 90s. But anyway, that's a secret between us. Now, my talk today, the 20 minutes talk that I shall be giving, is intentionally limited to a couple of aspects. It's limited to the aspect of travel risk or travel security management, and it's also limited to one of the various meanings of psychological safety, which is that of feeling safe. And my intention in this is to be very pragmatic and to give some indications how a travel risk management policy or travel risk management process and program can contribute to this intention. So if it's okay with you, we move on to the start of the show. This is our motto, Pyramid Temi Group. Safety for staff abroad means peace of mind for management, and let's not forget the family at home. You'll notice as we move forward in the talk that the family is mentioned a number of times. Because why is this? Because very often the importance of the family can have influencing the people that are at the other end of the world performing chores, employed on behalf of the company is not to be underestimated, not just for humanitarian reasons, but also for business reasons, because a person who is traveling on behalf of an organization should be able to perform in an optimal fashion. If you're scared and worried, and if you've got problems at home, that is not so simple. Let's look at some definitions. Security, there are thousands and thousands of definitions for security. We will just stick to this one definition. Security is the protection from harm. Security people are supposed to be protecting other people, themselves, and objects from harm. So security has to do with the protection from harm. Safety has to do with the state of being safe from harm and threats. So security is supposed to organize things in such a way that there is safety. Safety is the status that security intends to reach. What often is not given enough importance is that to psychological safety. Because psychological safety, and again, this is just one of the meanings, the definitions of psychological safety, is the state in which a person perceives that her environment is safe and free from harm and threat. This is the human factor. What this means is being safe and being free from harm and threat is not enough on its own. To give a full service, we need to ensure that the people who are safe, who are free from harm and are free from threat also feel safe and feel free from harm and threat, and so do their family. Again, this is important when we're talking about travel security. We're talking about the human factor. Now, travel security is a process, and Pawan mentioned earlier that I've been working for the past 2 years in ISO 3130, which is a guidance standard. It's not a certifiable standard. It's a standard which provides guidance for organizations that send staff to other countries, other places, sometimes safe places, sometimes medium risk, sometimes high risk places. And it's guidance for that process. But the process on its own is not sufficient if you do not give attention to psychological safety. And this is the problem which we have addressed in the ISO 3130 and should be addressed even more so as you move forward. And it is that of the human factors and the psychology are not taken into account. So what we need to do is create a policy, create a process, create programs, give training in such a way that not only we do our job well, by doing our job well, I mean, not only do we provide efficiency in our safety and security programs, but we do it in such a way that we attain the maximum benefit for all around by taking into account the human factor and psychology. I'm going to give some examples of how in a travel risk management process, there are a number of opportunities for the organization to take, which will assist the organization in satisfying the feeling safe of the traveler and the psychology of safety. These are the basic elements of a travel risk management process. These are not all the elements, but these are the base. Without these, you will not have a travel risk management process. To these, you can build upon and add others, but these are the basic elements. First of all, top management support. If we don't have top management support, we might as well forget everything else. Because travel risk management process and any security process involves money, involves time, involves resources. If top management is not giving full support, then the process and the programs are doomed to failure. Training. You notice how we put management, in-house, staff, and travelers in that order. We'll talk about that in a minute. That's not casual. Usually people think in terms of providing training for the travelers first and possibly for the others. We'll talk about that in a minute. Once you have top management support and once you have conducted the right kind of training, you can then start talking about a travel risk policy. Travel risk policy includes the management of trips, pre and during, and needs to provide for the process, for the procedures that will make this passage more efficient. Again, we will be looking not at the security angle, but we will be looking at the way this part of the process can assist us in making people feeling safe. Crisis management and communications, same thing. We shall be talking about that as well. And then follow up. So let's move on and go through these one by one. Top management support. Now, we've already said that top management support is the most important part of the process. If you don't have top management support, then you can forget it. If you don't have top management support, whatever process, whatever procedure you intend to implement, you'll find at some stage that you will be in trouble, that you will not be able to complete an action that was envisaged. Now, what can top management do apart from giving support in order to assist us in our psychological safety argument? Well, what they can do is very, very simple. And you'll see as we go forward, the suggestions we make are very simple, very pragmatic, very easy to perform, but also very efficient. What can top management do? Top management can make a statement where they state the importance of security, safety, and health of all employees, and that particular attention is given to travel security. Now, how many organizations provide efficient procedures and a sufficient process for managing the travel security of their staff that do not make a statement of this kind. And it's so simple. If you're in a country where there could be legal implications, you take advice from your legal counsel to make sure you're not guaranteeing to do something you cannot do. But the concept is the same for any and every country. Top management needs to tell the world, and the world includes employees and includes the families of employees. An employee that can go home and say, look, this is the statement of support by my top management. When I go on a traveling to somewhere in the desert, in the jungle, up high in the mountains or wherever, top management has guaranteed that I will have their full support, and they have made a statement very clearly that the importance of security, safety and health of all employees, and in particular attention to me traveling for them, is of utmost importance. This statement must be circulated amongst all interested parties, including those that travel and the family members of those that travel. Training. I mentioned earlier that training has first management, then those involved in organizing, and then the travelers themselves. Of course, it's pointless having well-trained travelers if management don't know what they're doing, and if those involved in organizing travel do not know what's happening. The president made a very intelligent comment earlier that when you are working for an organization, you need to feel that you are part of the organization. You need to feel that the organization is with you and behind you. If the organization is the members of the organization that are involved in organizing, sorry so many times organizing, involved in organizing your travel, have not been sufficiently trained, you're not going to feel safe and secure that they are doing the right thing. Those at home need to understand the difficulties faced by travelers. Those at home who are in environments that are warm in the winter, cool in the summer, need to understand the difficulties of people traveling for their organization who quite likely will not be in friendly environments. And this will influence the way they organize and the message they transmit to the people traveling. The travelers need to know, and here it seems that I'm quoting our president, the travelers need to know that there is an efficient organization behind them. And the only way you can have an efficient organization behind people is for the members of the organization to have received sufficient and the correct training. Training of travelers. Now, training of travelers in health, safety and security tends to concentrate on the actual health, safety and security issues. It tends to concentrate on cultural awareness, security awareness, how to behave if there's a crisis, how to behave in any sort of emergency. These are extremely important. All of these are extremely important. But what is often forgotten is that if a traveler is going to a medium high risk environment, they will probably have assistance in the place where they're traveling to. And very rarely do they receive training on how to interact with their security people and how to understand what's being done and how to appreciate the role of on-site assistance. I'm afraid too many people, above all management, tend to think of security assistance as a taxi service. Well, if you want a taxi service, you hire a taxi. It's certainly cheaper than hiring a security service, a security detail, or a security driver. What is not made clear often to the people traveling during the training is that they must listen to and take heed of any advice given by security personnel. I'm afraid we Europeans are particularly bad at this. We tend to think we're paying for a service, we're the boss, people who are being paid by us must do what we think they should be doing. And we do not realize how important it is to listen to the advice given by security personnel. It's like going to a doctor and saying, well, I'm paying for the visit, so I'll tell the doctor how to diagnose what my problems are. It does not make sense, but it happens far too often. And this is where the training of those that travel for an organization comes into it. Don't just train your travelers in how to react to security problems, how to negotiate cultural differences. Train them in how to understand and appreciate the role of on-site assistance. Security personnel are humans too, and should be treated with appropriate respect. Travel risk policy. We now got to a point where we can start writing our travel risk policy. We have top management support. We have sufficient training has been given to all of those concerned. At this point, the organization can take into account its own context, its external context, and it can put together a policy. When it puts together the policy, again, I'm ignoring the specific security orientated matters. When it creates a policy, it should take into consideration all human related factors. Communication with the family. I may be boring you, but don't underestimate the importance of the family, the importance of sons, daughters, fathers, mothers, boyfriends, girlfriends, husbands, wives. Do not underestimate the importance. You have to create a system for communicating with these people whenever it's needed, and opportunities for feedback from travelers. Feedback from travelers may be good, may be bad, may be indifferent, but it is important to know what their reactions are and what their reactions are to the experiences they've had. And it's necessary having a system where, when needed, very quickly you can communicate with families. Another important factor is the authorization of travel by dependents. The organization needs to have a very clear policy which says when you travel to another place and you are prepared to pay the travel, the expense and one thing or another of another person, there are no problems, or there are problems. This has to be made very, very clear from the start. We have had cases of people turning up in dangerous environments, bringing with them their wife, bringing with them maybe not their wife, but somebody else, with their wife remaining at home. And this creates a very big problem, of responsibility, a problem of insurance. It creates the situation where maybe these people have arrived at 3 o'clock in the morning and somebody has to say, sorry, we cannot provide security for you. We can only provide security for the person who has been booked, the person whose name we have here. That badly handled will create a very lot of problems. So the important thing is that right from the start, things are made very clear. Same thing with leisure. Business and leisure. Business and leisure means I'm here, I've got a day off, I've got a day free, I've got 2 days free, I'm going off tracking, or I'm going off climbing a mountain, or I'm going off to play cards in the local casino. There has to be a policy in advance for this. I'm not saying leisure should not exist. I'm just saying that the company has to think in advance of how leisure, if they allow it to exist, how it is to be handled in advance, a long time before the trip begins. Not once the trip's in full flow and you get a phone call saying, sorry to disturb you, but we have 2 people here who on Friday night want to go off to a certain area, a certain town, etc. What do we do? This is something that should have been thought about before. And if it's not thought about before, it's going to create confusion, it's going to create bad feeling. It's also going to create a sense of insecurity. Management of trips pre and during. Management should take into account the well-being of the traveler. Management is not responsible for well-being of the traveller, but it should take it into account, not just the financial convenience when booking travel and accommodation. Long stopovers between connecting flights and arrivals in hostile environments after dark must be avoided. It may be far cheaper to have somebody fly all the way around the world to get to the destination. It may be cheaper, but it means that the person flying around the world to get to the destination is going to arrive tired and not feeling at all well.
Roger, 1 minute left, please.
Thank you, my friend. Well, I'm going over time, so we'll drop the case study. Crisis management and communications. The incident or crisis management should contain provision for communications with the family and or close friends. It's important that reassuring news arrives straight from the organization before media gets involved. The worst thing that can ever happen is for media to get involved and call the family, and the family replies, we don't know what's going on. The company's told us nothing. They obviously don't care. Follow-up debriefing and request. I'm afraid I'm sorry I went over time. I will not have time for the case study. We can possibly look at this another time. The case study regarded a mining venture in southern Congo where a specialized company obtained the job but did not have prior experience, and their staff were not very happy about taking this assignment. And the case study explains how we overcame that problem. Thank you for your attention, and I'm sorry I went over time. Thank you.
Thank you, Roger.
Thank you, Roger. Thank you very much. It's been very interesting. And just for the audience, Roger would be back on the 30th of June for a one-to-one talk on the travel security, same time on the 30th of June. I'd like to now introduce Captain Jasjeet Loni, who is a captain from the Merchant Navy. He's an expert in oil transportation, having worked in the marine industry for the last 39 years.
I think we lost Pawan.
We lost his volume also, and I think we lost him also.
No, never mind. I'll introduce myself and then move on from here.
I think Pawan will come back, Jesse.
Yeah, it's okay.
I think there is something wrong with his net.
No problems. We continue if it is okay with you, Nismet team.
Sure, sir, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Thanks a lot. So to introduce myself, my name is Jasjeet Loni. 40 years in the profession of marine. Out of that, I stopped sailing more than 20 years back. And then after that, I've done work ashore mainly with the HHSC part. So what is this industry about? Let me start with that, and then I share about safety and other things. This industry is about the organization I work with is out of Denmark, is 132 years old, has seen many ups and downs, world wars, pandemics, everything. And we own what we call it ships, or we call them oil tankers. They are spread all over. That means at any given time, 24/7, they are working. These are remote units, which will be in any part of the world. They transport oil, they transport chemicals, they transport all that which contains hydrocarbons. We come across challenges right from piracy in Somalia to piracy in Gulf of Guinea. So that is a part of the security. Persian Gulf, right from if Iran fires a missile, we are subject to that. All that is a part of our security. All that is a part of our safety. So when I say the safety part here is very different, because it's not only the 80 units you have to manage the safety security, but also is with 350 crew members on board these ships, there are 350 families also ashore you are managing at the same time. And that is what is our journey of psychology of safety to psychological safety. So let me start by sharing a little bit. I may ask something in between, but let me start by first. Please let me know when you can see my slide.
Not yet.
Yeah, now it should come in.
The slide is not yet visible. Yeah, there it is. It's there.
Okay, thank you. I'm just moving to the. Okay. Just picking up from Roger, and safety is no longer about avoiding injury in the workplace. It's about ensuring the physical, emotional, and mental well-being of employees when they are at workplace, out of workplace, and to ensure they are healthy, alert, and engaged. So when we talk about what do we see? We have people, we work with people take risks, people make decisions, people get tired, people make mistakes, people learn and develop, they work with others, they communicate with others. All that they do. And we want people to take risks. We want them to make decisions which are safe. How do we do that? And if I go a step further and a step back, if I go a step back, then we say risk is equal to likelihood into consequence. Well, there are several terms what we use for likelihood. We are same for consequence. In simple terms, likelihood is probability, likelihood is number of times, and consequence is again an impact. We all know about it. It's whether it's a personal life, whether it is our professional life. But if I had to ask a question that when we say, and even in my own organization, when I ask the people to do a risk management, risk assessments, they go back, they say, well, okay, we will lower the likelihood or we will lower the consequence and the risk will be managed. But how easy it is to determine or to calculate either of the two, whether it is likelihood or consequence. Well, how do we estimate likelihood? Most of the organizations, even in today's time, is we say, okay, experience, okay, what we have seen in the past, common sense, what is the industry news, what is the statistics, word of mouth, and we just say, okay, this is a likelihood, right? Well, it may seem to be easy. Let me ask you a few questions here. When I was growing, my mom bought these 3 piggy banks for me and asked me a question, and she put a coin in one of them. So in one of them, there is a coin. Can anybody tell me where is it? Which one has? Okay. What I'll do is I will make it a little easy. I will remove one which did not have the coin. Now either of them have it. If we go by probability, I don't know which you chose before. Probably you will like to choose the other one. This is how difficult the likelihood is to calculate or to come up. Let me go further on to and see what is the consequence. All of us carry a box of bias behind us. We have our own perceptions. We have the degree of severity. We have the possible outcome. We take all that and we want to calculate the risk basis this. Even in the marine industry, we still use this very much, the format of calculating the risk. It's used in the oil and gas basis all this. So I did challenge a little bit on this one and say, okay, let's see something more. I think we know, all of us know about it. An accident occurs, we all start looking back with the hindsight, and then we look at, well, how could have this happened? And well, if you ask me, knowing what has happened alters our perception. There is a huge bias when we are looking behind. It persuades us that things that are obvious now were not obvious then, now are obvious. And if we look at it, actually, we make up the truth. So, as a professional, I started working towards it in a little different way. And I said, let's look at the mindset. And what is the mindset? Now, looking forward, if we look at what happens is that if we consider one thing to start with, none of us gets up in the morning to do a bad job. We all want to do a good job. And if with that rationality, if we look forward, then we look at what could have been the reason behind it. The rationality is always created. If we'll go beyond this, we'll say, well, there were constraints, resources, schedules, local expertise, management pressure that comprises the operation culture that creates the space in which people are made to make decisions. What is useful to know is what led to the circumstances in which what seemed to be a solution at that moment became an aftermath of the incident. And as I repeat, none of us want to do a bad job. Keeping that in mind, we move ahead and see what are the influences that create a particular mindset. Well, there are 5 of them. The first one is the knowledge we have. And the knowledge is our experience. The knowledge is the organization knowledge. The knowledge is everything what we know about. The risks we feel, the goals we have, again, organization goals, and the goals, our own personal goals, our own family goals, everything in that. The responsibility we feel, and the demands we feel. Altogether, this is what creates a mindset. I'm not saying this creates a safety mindset. Any business we do, there is a risk in that. We all know about it. If we don't want to take any risk, well, we close the shop, whether it is running the ship or traveling or flying the planes. That's how it is. So this is the loop which I believe in. To my organization, I talk about it like a pendulum, which goes from one to the other, with efficiency being on one side and thoroughness on the other side. When I say thoroughness, is all the quality manuals, all our procedures, all our checklists, everything falls here. If we were here, we'll never have any plane flying. If we are here, then there'll be disasters. Organizations want to be at the center of this. This is the pendulum they want to be. But is it possible to be there? This is the point of human action. Now consider that we have humans who have these things influencing them, and you want them to be at this point. That means you want them that they should be taking the right decisions. They should be giving you all the KPIs or the targets met. How do you achieve that? Where do you get into this point? And this is a continuous loop which keeps going from here to the other. You can see Indian pandemic is one of the example. You come, you open up, you go onto the extreme here, shortcuts, everything. You start putting all lockdowns, everything, you come onto the other side. And there are so many of it which we see day to day. So what we did was, we introduced something what we call it safety eyes. What are these safety eyes? The safety eyes is insight, innovation, influence, intervention, integration. Well, it's very good to introduce this. But imagine a person in India or in Philippines or in any part of the world, he has to make his living. How many times a junior, a rating will get up and challenge a superior? How many times he will intervene? If you don't encourage him, how will he give his insight? How will he work his innovation? So we are at that stage where we introduce this, but this is not where you can get what you want. And there I take you to the next step. And this is where it comes is, how do you bring in the psychological safety part of it? And this is where it is. We see the organizations which give us psychological safety. That means we trust you. We are you are fully with us. Everything is there. They get complacent and get into this comfort zone. Then comes in where you don't do that, you are in apathy zone. Where performance is there, that means you are in the anxiety zone. And believe me, it doesn't mean that giving a psychological safety means you're being nice, you're lowering your performance standards. No, it is not at all. It is, if you have both, then you are in this zone. And this is where it comes is the learning zone. It's very difficult. It is achievable. And some of the things is how you achieve it. As a superior, you drive it. Be honest. Accept your mistakes. It is so important that you live by your example. And there I like to give certain examples of it. Human element is us, and we are at the center of our own operations. We are doing operations day out, day in, day out. We create safety movement by movement from our operational behavior. Operational behavior is what will lead you there. Our behavior is a trade-off between efficiency and thoroughness, influenced by the filters within the complex operational system. Remember that at the start, between the thoroughness and the efficiency is a big swing of the pendulum. The pendulum, the swing will keep reducing between when you show the right behaviors. Our behavior is always rational with respect to the situation we think we are in. And our behavior determines psychological safety. I think I have been through this myself. I have seen that this is what makes the difference. And this is what is making the difference now, where a shipping industry with people who are employed on the ships have not been able to come home for a year. But they believe, they trust, they have the psychological safety that if there is anything, the organization will deal with the right way for their families, for them, everything. And that has been the success. The foundation which we started a couple of years back on walking towards this has given us the best returns during the year 2020, continues in 2021. It has been minimum incidents when we have not been to our assets. Full of last 18 months, we have not seen our assets. It is being run by the teams who are there. We have not done any audits. We have not done anything. The only thing what we have done is right behaviors, psychological safety, trust, communication, openly admitting our mistakes where we have been wrong. And that open culture is what has led us to this. That's it from me. Thank you. And I hand over the baton to Veena.
No, first I'd like to come in, Jasdeep. I'm sorry my electricity failure happened and I could not introduce you, but I'm told that you introduced yourself.
Oh, that's fine.
That's right. But thank you so much for a wonderful talk. And Jasdeep, you are the head of HSSE for and the vice president globally for this organization, and you had the India operations for Tom. I think it's a very coveted position, and thank you very much for an excellent talk that you've given. Now, if you can take your slide share off, I'd like to introduce Veena Gupta to you. Veena is a very accomplished lady who has championed the causes of women empowerment for years. She has led from the front in her passion to keep women safe, especially in the areas of workplace. She's an entrepreneur and founded the SEAM Group with offices in India, Singapore, and the United States. She has an experience of over 25 years, and during this time has trained thousands of persons on how to keep themselves safe and secure. Veena is a TEDx speaker, a life coach, a lead auditor, an expert in CPTED, which stands for Crime Prevention Through Environmental Design. She has trained in Israel on self-defense and also currently is appointed as the Deputy Chief Warden of Civil Defense in a city where she stays, Gurugram, in the state of Haryana in India. Over to you, Veena.
Unmute Veena.
Muted. Veena, you are muted.
Unmute
Veena,
yourself.
unmute yourself and then you do your slide share, please.
Sure. Can you see my screen?
Not as yet.
Not as yet. Is it?
Yeah, it's coming on, yes.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Thanks, Ms. Murth, for giving me this opportunity. I'm very glad to be part of this webinar, and a bit nervous because the time which you have given me is very limited, and the subject which I've been asked to speak is really very close to my heart. I can speak for hours and hours. Well, keeping this scenario in mind, the global pandemic has had significant psychological and social impact on individual, also the employee. You know why? Because the working environment, the work from home scenarios, and the camera has shifted to our bedrooms. Our life has totally exposed and we are forced to become virtual and living in this digital world. That is the reason, if you can see my screen, it shows the corona impact. People are in home under one roof and everybody is having their own life, and then yet we are having social distancing. Since I shall be talking about on women's safety, but let me take you through to my slide, which will leave you with a thought that what kind of risk we are living in or what safety measures we have to take in this today's scenario, which is called new normal, new risk, because we are living in a virtual world. And the women are really more prone to virtual sexual harassment and domestic violence in today's life. Okay, so if you see this slide, and if you see my slide, you will find very colorful slides, because I always believe in having the positive colors in life. And since I have to have so much of data and the case studies on the subject, which is very vast subject. So if you see, the first is the cyber crime, which impacts the safety on us, which leaves you think that what kind of day-to-day, risk we are living in. And it leads us to the emotional risk, mental risk, and the physical risk. So be prepared what I'm going to talk about, because this COVID it's become an event, and the cyber hackers and attackers are looking for an event to attack us. So let's watch ahead. I'm going to beware of the unknown with my slides. As you see the cyber crime data, if you see these icons, you can relate yourself with these icons, that our life is very, very much familiar with these icons, and we are living on this on a day-to-day life, like even kids. If you see the impact, this is the perfect storm has happened on the cyber space, and this led us to the crime on the safety of women, safety of employee, because of the working from home scenario. As you see, the cybercrime, data privacy risk, data breach, cloud computing, phishing, malware attack, false and misleading information spreading on the WhatsApp, virtual sexual harassment. It's really, really in a big, because women are struggling to prove their work versus their lifestyle, juggling between the kids' studies, their home tasks, their working hours and all. And 80% of the women were not working. They were the homemaker, and they were totally exposed to the camera because of their kids' studies, because of their husband working from home. Social media vulnerability is become a big, big, big vulnerability and the big risk for us. Cyber attack. And let me just share this with you. The stakeholders are only women nowadays, because the sexual harassment is taking place, even they're working from home, because of the virtual platform. They've been asked to open their videos, they've been asked to take their calls in orders, they've been asked to compromise the personal life and the family life, etc. Children are also very, very vulnerable, because they're getting into sex switching. Teenagers, because they are isolated, they have no friends to talk with, and they're sitting at home and they're compromising. Everybody's under one roof, sharing the pace, sharing their space. So people are forced to be online on virtual life. And in the family, especially abled citizens or the people are really, really effective. If I share this case studies, which is the recent case study during these 2 years during the COVID, like if you see, all the articles says virtual sexual harassment is taking place. COVID lockdown, women report online sexual harassment, the women workplace harassment. Then if you see, the kids trafficking has been happening, and there's a new crime which is taking place, which is a sexual grooming happening on the teens. When we talk about the cybercrime case studies, there's a case study that has been published on Unisex Incorporation, and the very, very famous security officer Matt Neufeld has declared that hackers are looking for the pharmaceutical and healthcare property, intellectual property to attack. And these are the data. If you can see, the year 2014 till 2019, every year cyber dangers down, then it's been double, triple till date. Now, these are the case studies are easily available. If you see the cyber attack rising day by day, how the COVID is creating risks to our life. These are the case studies. Now, what are the remedies? Remedies, of course, we have to control these things with our own self. Screening time has to reduce. We have to reduce our screening time. Netflix, online streaming, video gaming, and the social media. We should know what time and how much time we have to spend on social media. Beware on online fraud. It recently happened with me. One of my friend Facebook has been hacked, and he sent me the request that please pay some money through Paytm, and I had to pay. So we have to be very, very careful. And then IT data policy, social media internal policy. We have to sensitize people and talk about with our children and teens. Now, what are the impact on our personal life? Of course, we've been in isolation. We've been forced to quarantine because of social distancing. We have fear, we have anxiety, we have uncertainty, we have stress, we have economy factor, financial situation, lack of jobs, lack of money, changes in our daily habits, even we are doing the prayer meetings online. So you can imagine, this is not the normal situation. These are the extraordinary times. So who have to do it? We have to do it by how? That I have to control the situation. I have to have control in my hand. Now, how is leaving the mental impact on me? Of course, my mental health is in again risk, because isolation and fear of infection kept me inside the home with the mask. If you see this picture, this is the picture which I took it from again online. This is what is leading us into a mental trauma. It creates the mental risk. So we have to know ourselves. We have to be very careful. We have to take care of our body. Now, mental risk remedies are easily available, and it's been posted on WHO site, on the social media, that keep informed, have a routine, get up on time, do your physical regime, keep up the personal hygiene. I will not waste time over here. Now come to the point where I say the mostly affected people are women during this COVID, during this pandemic, because The data and the history says that domestic violence and sexual harassment has been there for years, but during this global pandemic, it's been increased. And if you see the data, it's not only India, it's including China, United States, America, everywhere this has been increased and the violence has been increased. And the cost of domestic violence is approximate 1.5 trillion globally we are talking about. So I'll leave this question and I give this question to all of you to think, has violence against women increased since the beginning of the COVID, or was it there before? Am I safe in my home? What I am suffering from? Mental, sexual, social, or long-term relationship, or the physical abuse? These are the things we have to now live with it. Now, if you see the data, again, the domestic violence is not happening today. Starting from the data NCRB says the crime has been increased, it was there. And every 1.7 minute, one woman has been sexually harassed. Every 4.4 minute, one woman has gone through the domestic violence. This is the data been there. But yes, the global pandemic based or the gender based violences has been increased during this pandemic. If you see the case studies, the shadow pandemic violence against women has been increased during COVID, and UN chief has viral this video talking about that how the crime against women has gone up during the lockdown, during the work from home, being under one roof, because we have taken privacy, each other's space. We don't have private time, so frustration is there. If you see the data is really shocking. It's been increased, the physical sexual abuse as per the data, and the city 32 complaints each city is being reported on. Now, the recent study, I don't know if you have heard or not, even the social media platform, there are so many social media platform, but the recent platform, which is Instagram, because the Instagram has few crimes taking place, which is like, I want to be an influencer. How to be an influencer. So one of the influencer who stalked a girl somewhere in India, this is the report says that response from the social media platform got that we don't have employee to take care of this report, so we can't do much about it. So tell me and think about it, what you're going to do if this social media policy is not being taken place. I will be, or a woman will be exposed to have a virtual sexual harassment on a day-to-day basis. It will increase in a further time, because as I said, new normal lived like this for years, and this COVID will be like this for another 2 years. So I am giving you thought to think, will we have to do something about it? And what are the crimes on Instagram? We need to know the romance is happening online, the lottery is happening online, which is all the social platform. Jobs are being offered on this social platform, loans been offered, false investment has been given, and even the paid subscription on the name of streaming music has been given to all the teens and kids. Now, what do I do? What is the remedy? So basically, the government has to come up with a really, really good social media scheme. The employer have to design the work placement policies, gender by design, something like some product has to be there where the women can report. And then we should have the consultation and the workshop on this subject, how to address the online gender-based violence or crime against women. Now, if you see this data, it was there. I mean, if you see the preview through this definition, understanding spectrum of women's security, it was there, the visual, the verbal, and the written, pardon me, touching, and then all these things, if you can see, these were the segment, these were the spectrum been already there. Now, request for dates, question about personal life. If you see, these are on a legal side, but it's been happening yet. It's been only one thing has been added on, as I said, the virtual sexual harassment. And there's been incident where women been asked to come forward to the video. The subordinate saying, oh, I can't see you. So she's been forced to come forward to the video, even she doesn't want to. See, it's not a mandate to open your video when you're doing a call. Yes, it's the guidelines that you have to open your video. But as a woman, if she doesn't want, there's no mandate that women has to be on the video. So sometimes it's been bullied. Sometimes there's a sexual harassment, bullying been going on. We have to really think about it. And the most affected, if you see, the morality has totally gone. Why? Because the most affected people are the sex workers, the transgender, and the front line, the shopkeeper, the women, domestic help, they have lived their livelihood even for 500 rupees by selling their body, by going through this sexual abuse. So these are and that small shopkeepers, hawkers. So think about it, what's happening and how we are going to face this issue in future. If I talk about the applicable resources overview, applicable laws are there, which is the Indian Penal Code. The molestation, eve teasing, these are the Indian Penal Code acts been there 1860 in place. Stalking, murder, rape, physical attack, assault, it's not the new. IT Act, of course, the cyber threat, data theft, and cyberbullying, harassment is there. So it's nothing new which we are facing. It's just that people are taking the advantage, or we got an excuse to get into these crimes by choice or no choice, then over law. Of course, the prevention of sexual harassment policy was there to prevent these sexual harassment at workplace. But now we are virtual, so there's no such policy, there's no such proof. And women are not coming forward. Simple reason, because they think if they complain, they may lose their job. So that is the fear they are living in day-to-day life. And the woman who's never been exposed to the camera, imagine the simple housewife, his or her kids study she has to do on virtual platform. A teacher, a government employee, never gone through any social media platform. Now she has to do meeting on Skype, on Zoom. So we are learning day by day, and we are exposing ourselves. We really don't know how to express ourselves because we fear to lose our job. There was a last COVID, I think there was a mandate for all the teachers to come online. In spite of that, they were not having any experience on this. So it's going to be increased, it's not going to be decreased. If I leave this to you to ask question to myself, to yourself, to world, am I safe? Is women safe? And this data, this question answer has been published on WHO official social media page. It says, home is not safe place for me. What should I do? I need medical attention because I've been going through the domestic violence. I'm safe, but I'm suffering from the mental trauma, sexual trauma, or my boss has harassed me. I want to complain, but where do I go? Because during the COVID, this police services not been part of the essential services because police were busy doing something else. They were helping the COVID patient and the hospital and some other duties. So where do I go? Do I have any code word if I'm going through the sexual or the domestic abuse to call somebody? I want to report an accident or the incident to violence during this COVID. Where do I go? I have harmed or I've been harmed. I'm worried about my child because my child is going through the cyberbully, cyber harassment, or my teens is going sexual grooming. Where do I go? What do I do? Whether the POSCO law protects my child? Do I have this law in place or where? So these things we have to think. Now the frontline warriors or the workers, which were the health workers or the beauty salon or any shopkeeper says, I'm a health worker. How do I help other women? Where do I go? Because if I have an NGO, I've been getting 80 to 90% complaints, not only from the women, from the men also. So hey, I'm with you also. I'm not saying domestic violence took place only on women. Men also gone through the harassment. You know why? Because he was never exposed to do cleaning at home. He was never exposed to do kitchen tasks at home. But he's been asked, because working couple at home, they have to contribute at home. So he has also gone through the mental trauma. Maybe he has lost the job. He has that pressure that you're not earning. So where do I go? Where do the men go? So I've been handling these complaints, but as a handler of the complaints, I was not part of, my NGO was not part of the essential services supporter. So I couldn't go and help those women or the people who needed my help. Am I a policymaker? So these questions I put to you to think, what do we do now? Okay. Now, if you see, now what is the way forward? Way forward is that our IT rule will prevent misuse and abuse of the social media. Our Minister Shankar Prasad ji has taken the right measures, and there was a conference took place on May 27, 2021. The data I have took from the Forbes, it's already published there, the regulation, how to do the traceability, because if the crime will take place online, if I have to report the sexual harassment happened by the influencer on Instagram, where do I go? Because there's no such policy has been led to this social media platform. So we have to really think big. And this is me. Namaste. And now I leave all of you to ask question. Thank you very much. I end with my note. Be safe, stay positive, be happy.
Thank you very much, Veena. Thank you very much. It's been a wonderful talk. And if you could please remove your slide share, that will be fine. I have a question. I have a statement actually which says, psychological safety is the belief that you won't be punished or humiliated for speaking up with ideas, questions, concerns, or mistakes. May I have, Roger, your opinion on this? I'll repeat the statement which says, psychological safety is the belief that you won't be punished or humiliated for speaking up with ideas, questions, concerns, or mistakes. What do you feel? Is it a good statement, bad statement, or is it to be avoided?
Well, I think it's certainly a good statement in so much as we should all be in that state. We should all be in that position. But I think we're going a long way. I would certainly like to mention the ICOCA, the International Code of Conduct Association, which bases membership applications on being able to prove that your staff has the opportunity to make complaints or to speak up at any time without being punished. Now, whether that is part of the definition of psychological safety, we can discuss, but it's certainly correct. And you cannot, we are members of the ICOCA, and we need to sign statements and demonstrate that our staff has the opportunity to speak up and to complain, and there is a complaints procedure. We've never called it psychological safety, but maybe the more I think about it, the more it's correct. Yeah.
Jasdeep, may I have your views on this? I repeat the statement once again because it's I came across this and I felt that it was very appropriate. Psychological safety is the belief that you won't be punished or humiliated for speaking up with your ideas, questions, concerns, or mistakes.
Yeah,
And
I
how
think
do you
it's,
implement it in your organization?
yeah, the main thing is, again, as I mentioned in my in my session also, is that how do you create that trust? The most difficult part is creating the trust that they will not be penalized. They will not. And also, how do you encourage people raising a question, coming up with ideas? And for that, there are different ways of doing it. So on the monthly, or actually on the daily basis, the best practices, the best ideas we come in, we publish them, which goes to across the organization on daily basis. Where it is, we have the operational report going there. We are very careful on where there have been some accidents and incident. How do we put it? So the communication on that part is a continuous communication, because little bit you're right on the edge where, and it's a continuous effort that you do not take away that trust. You handle each situation, each of this with care, bring in the human element, even when you have the findings of an incident or investigation. Bring in what was the environment, what led to that. It's very easy and I think the best solution what people look for is blood. It's very simple to sack a person and move ahead, then you have sorted out everything. But that's not the way. So you want to go beyond that. And that's what is the continuous struggle and an effort. And that's what you enjoy the most when you get into that.
Veena, what is your opinion, and what would you advise people when they sort of have this problem in their workplace, where psychological safety is not the belief that you won't be punished or humiliated for speaking up with ideas, questions, concerns, or mistakes? You're muted, Veena. You got to unmute yourself.
Yeah, the psychological safety is the belief actually, and as an employer, is my duty to train the employee in such a manner where they really come up and they become self-motivated, where they have dared to speak up, and share their grievances or any situation they face it. So I think the training makes a person really, really very strong mentally. So we have to train our employee in in all the aspects that, look, whenever you go through any situation, you should believe that we are with you. So we have to make them believe in us that yes, we will support you and you will not be punished, or the other person will be punished in case they are found guilty. So training should be, training should make people really, really strong mentally and emotionally to think about the emotions.
Thank you, Veena. I got time for one question, and I would like Wing Commander S.K. Sharma to ask this question. He's an HR person, and he's been also a member of the people who select the people who want to join the armed forces. So he's been a selector at one point of time, and he now heads a very strong HR team, and he practices as an HR consultant. So, and this safety would be something that concerns you on a daily basis.
Absolutely, and I would like Veena to answer this. In schools, we have POCSO, we have sexual harassment at the company level. Has the government actually come out with any policy that we extend it further to the homes?
That is what the struggle going on. I said, yeah, recently this Mr. Shankar, as I mentioned in my slide, that May 27,004 was they have come up with the regulation of how to trace the social media online abuse. So yes, they are working on this policy because now this work from home scenario going to be there for another 2 to 3 years. So all the employers and the employer is asking for having a workplace harassment at home policy. See, the policy has been already there in place. It's just that they are confused now. We are not working from the desk, but yes, we are working for the company. So it's just how to make your internal policies. So government, see, the workplace harassment, government has nothing to do in any case. The POSH has been the internal IC policy for the employer to take care of it. Police will only intervene when the woman will say assault, then the harassment. So we have to train our employee in these two words, harassment versus assault. Telling her to use this word harassment, then the POSH policy will be implemented IC. But what happens that when I am facing any sexual harassment virtual, it becomes the IT Act 2002 or 2012 or IPC 67 or 69. So we are very much confused when we have this cyber security or online camera or the virtual harassment takes place. So the police intervention, the employer should know, or the IT department should know whether it comes under the IT Act or the POSH. So it's very clear because IT Act has nothing to do with me working for my employer or having the camera in front of me. Yes, camera and these kind of policies are part of IT Act. But then we have to be very, very clear between the employee and employer the day we take up the job, work from home. But what I said, the agony, I don't want to lose my job. I will not raise any question and any grievances. Here is what my concern, I left it on all of us. Hey girls, hey all the community, we have to speak up, and together we have to have a very strong policy. Yes, work from home is a sexual harassment. If I face, I have to complain. IT Act will come later on. So we have to be very clear between the IT Act or the POSH.
Thank you, Veena.
Thank you very much. I think we're running out of time, and I would hand over the proceedings back to the President to conclude the session.
Every subject required more than 1 hour. So they had to capture everything in these 20 minutes. I really appreciate the speakers on this. Travel risk and management, very beautifully in the end, Roger said that top management sport is giving the psychological security. Now this is everything contained in one capsule dose. The top management sport should be available. That is why the psychology of safety will come. This Deep has beautifully described the organic safety aspect of various in his agency, what are the things they are going to have this organization. But ultimately, in the end, he concluded, it is the behavior pattern of yours with the employee and vice versa, they'll respond. So ultimately, again, it comes to the same thing. That is, what is your behavior? That is the management behavior to the employees and how you get inculcated them the psychology of safety. As far as Veena is concerned, Veena, you have touched a very important issue, which to some extent I'd like to have 1 minute more. That is, the difference is that most of the legal points you have said, in the end, you have very beautifully described that all of them are illegal according to some people. And according to the enforcement agencies, there may be some which are not legal. So this is very different. That you say, as well as the person who has been affected, harassed, for her, all the acts are illegal. And for the enforcement agencies, it is a question of that most of the acts may not be within the legal framework. So that you have referred to the acts, that in that case, the law of torts may come to their system. But you have beautifully described that. But I think this subject as said, the psychological safety in the women, because it is ranging the same. You know, you said that the reporting has ranged again same in many years, going from 70 to 80. And as well as other things, that is again same, between 9 to something like 7 point something. So this is not varied much with the passage of time. Every year it is coming within that framework. A lot of things are required to be done by the social activists on the women front to bring it down to the level which is manageable by the security or enforcement agency. Thank you very much, all the speakers. I think it's a very, very, I should say, illuminating subjects. And this illuminating subject has been delved at, described, deliberated by all of you in a very illuminating manner. I'm thankful to all the speakers. I'm also thankful to the delegates who have the patience of attending this webinar with us for the last about 1.5 hours. Thank you very much. Our next subject and the next webinar is due on 25th June. At again same time, 6 p.m. The relationship between business and leadership strategies. The relationship between business strategy and leadership strategy. That is the relationship between business and leadership strategy. I mean, this is very, all of you, particularly those who are in the management, that both are intimately related. The business strategy and the leadership strategy are very intimately related and connected. So therefore, this is our next subject. I hope all of you will attend this webinar. And I'm very sure we are going to get very, very learned speaker. I've already, and Pomanji has already talked to some, and we look forward to your presence here. Thank you very much, all the speakers, as well as the delegates, as well as those who were on the ring side to question and made this particular seminar very, very illuminating and scintillating. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you much,
Thank you,
everybody.
Nismat. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
for the
everybody.
wonderful session.
Thank you, Veena.
Bye-bye.
We'll be in touch. Bye,
Mr.
Roger.
Roger,
Thank you.
Subhash.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Pawan.
Roger,
Thanks
thank
all
you
the
very much.
speakers.
Thank
Dr.
you, everyone.
Valentino.
I'll be in touch.
Bye.
Okay,
Gopal,
thank
sir,
you.
Rakesh,
Thank you very
Thanks,
much.
John.
Sanjeev,
Thanks, Jasdeep.
Shafra, sir.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye,
Bye-bye.
everybody.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Jasdeep, thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Good night.
Bye. Good
Right,
night.
sir.
Good
Bye.
night.
Good night, sir. Good night, everybody.
Good night, everyone. And now it's time for sundowner.
Thank you, Jan Sabha. I wish we could have you as one of the questions, but some time frame.
Hi, Pawan.
Sipal Singh, good night,
Very
sir.
good.
Good night, sir.
Very good.
Good night, sir. Good night. Good
Bye.
night, sir. Everybody.
Good night, gentlemen.
Good night, everybody.
Sun is down. Sleeps up. That's all.